Ezra Bridger was a freedom fighter from the planet Lothal, who was discovered by Kanan Jarrus and his band of rebels. Kanan was one of the surviving Jedi who escaped the clones during Order 66, but he had formal training at the temple, where he learned to make his own lightsaber hilt. When it came time for Ezra to make his own, he had to use more unconventional methods, and this led to one of the more unique lightsabers seen in the animated series. For one thing, his lightsaber was made out of spare parts that the other members of the Ghost Crew donated to him instead of the official metals that the Jedi would have used when they were still organized on Coruscant. Sabine Wren donated modulation circuits and an energy gate, Chopper donated a power cell, Hera Syndulla donated whatever technology she had obtained, and Kanan donated spare parts that he had collected over the past 15 years. The lightsaber portion of his blade was essentially the same as any other weapon used by any other Jedi. But what made his weapon so unique was the fact that it was a blaster hybrid. Attached to the main lightsaber hilt was a blaster upgrade with a double bar design that was able to stun opponents, and this part was added due to his lack of combat skills while training with Kanan. While training, Ezra was able to put it on a low power setting, so that he wouldn't injure anyone while he was sparring with them. The blade ended up being destroyed by Darth Vader during his duel with Ezra on Malachor. The Sith were able to engineer all sorts of lightsaber variants, and the lightsaber parasol was one created by the Sith bandit leader, Koru. When she used only the lightsaber hilt to fight, it functioned just like any other lightsaber, but the attached parasol auxiliary made it capable of using multiple blades that she could spin around to create her own shield. This blade was only seen being used once, when Koru and her bandits attacked a village on Gambara. A former Sith Lord, known only as the Ronin, was there to put an end to Koru and her gang, and he ended up divvying up the components that made this blade special. The parasol auxiliary was given to the Celestin shopkeeper, who helped him fix his droid, and the kyber crystal that powered the blade was given to the child who acted as the village chief. The double-bladed Inquisitorious lightsaber was used by many different dark side users such as the Grand Inquisitor, Barriss Offee, and many brothers and sisters that made up the Inquisitorial squad. Tualan Yaluna, Merrick, and Drosera. The main lightsaber component used here was very similar to the one Darth Maul was best known for engineering and used during the invasion of Naboo. Around the main handle in the center was a spinning disc that would spin the blades around 360 degrees. The third sister and sixth brother were able to split their lightsabers into two single-bladed lightsabers, but the rest of the Inquisitors weren't able to use this mechanic. While the idea of a quick spinning defense would seem beneficial against Jedi, there were quite a few flaws in this hilt design. If one were to cut the disc while it was spinning, the ring would fly apart and be very chaotic. Also, if the emitter is damaged in the hilt, the functionality of the blade itself would become faulty, which is what happened to the 5th and 8th brothers during their fight with Maul, Kanan, and Ahsoka on Malachor. Another interesting capability of the blade is the ability to fly thanks to the micro-repulsor lifts working alongside the blade's propeller-like motion, but this ability was only available to the most competent of the Force-sensitive users. Proto-sabers were the first known design of a lightsaber, and they were also known as Archaic lightsabers. The basic construction technique of housing the focus crystal in the hilt was the same as the later lightsabers that we've come to know, but the Archaic saber was connected to an external power pack since technology wasn't as advanced yet. Not only did this limit the user's range and mobility, but the amount of energy included in the pack limited their time as well. The power supply was able to be carried on the user's hip, belt, or back, and it connected to the bottom of the lightsaber hilt, meaning the lightsaber essentially had to be kept in an upright position. This also meant that techniques such as telekinetic lightsaber combat and saber throws weren't an option yet. This hilt prototype was abandoned once a minuscule power supply was discovered, but during the Clone Wars, an unidentified Selkath Jedi decided to use this same hilt. It was called a Retro Saber, and it was rather effective against a squad of B-2 super battle droids. The Proto-Saber was best known to be used during the 100-Year Darkness and Great Hyperspace War. The lightsaber rifle wasn't a fully fledged independent hilt, but it was actually an extension that used the power of a lightsaber to channel a powerful and destructive beam of energy. The rifle itself had an open slot on the top that the lightsaber would be put into, and it would be able to fire at least 5 shots before being rendered useless from melting the lightsaber. Jocasta Nu actually used one of these when facing Darth Vader when she returned to the Jedi Temple during the first year of the Empire's reign. After she ran out of ammo, she tried to trigger an explosion with the rifle by using telekinesis, but Darth Vader was stronger with his connection to the Force and redirected the blast to take out a big part of the Jedi Temple wall. The rifle wasn't really used much aside from one that was discovered by Lor San Tekka, Luke Skywalker, and Ben Solo when they were venturing through a Jedi outpost on Elphrona. Sith Lord Darth Noctis constructed a very special variant of lightsaber called the Sickle-bladed lightsaber. The way that the blade curved made it resemble a metal scimitar, but the basic construction of the hilt was similar to that of a regular lightsaber. Darth Noctis was a female Dark Lord of the Sith who was present on Exegol as she was looking for the secret to immortality. She was actually able to establish a Sith empire while wielding this formidable weapon, but her death was confirmed by Luke Skywalker, who was able to find her records and lightsaber. Lightsaber gauntlets don't have much of a confirmed history, but it was known to be used by Jedi such as Jedi Master Plo Koon, Irek Ismarin, and Uda Khalid. The design of the weapon was similar to blaster gauntlets that were worn by bounty hunters such as Cad Bane and Boba Fett, but instead of blasters, they emitted one or more lightsaber blades at the end. In order to contain the light energy in a whip fashion, flexible containment shields had to be used on one or more plasma blades. This sort of weapon was only used by the most skilled users who had extensive training in controlling their blade's flexibility. While it still had the capabilities of a lightsaber, the flexibility of the blade made it have less cutting power, but it gained agility and a rather interesting way to intimidate your foes. This blade has been used ever since the early days of the Sith Wars, and even the Night Sisters of Dathomir were known to use this technology. One Jedi that was able to modify their own lightsaber was Jedi Knight Vernestra Rwoh, from the High Republic era. With modifications, the blade itself is able to transform from a whip form to a strong, solid blade depending on which form the user needs. Many users not only had to train to fight different styles using the whip form, but they also had to keep themselves from losing a limb in the process. Lightsaber duels were common for Jedi and Sith alike, but some of them took extreme pride in their ability to beat their opponents in a one-on-one battle. Count Dooku and Asajj Ventress are two of the most prominent curved duelist hilt users known, and both of them were proud in their ability to face any opponent. Even Ahsoka Tano created her own pair of curved hilt sabers, with one of them being standard and the other being Shoto. While this style of hilt is elegant by design, the whole point of this hilt is to let the wielder move with more finesse while slashing and lunging in combat. While Dooku and Ventress are two of the best-known wielders, this style has been around much longer than the Clone Wars. During the High Republic era, Jedi Obertuk Glee, Torben Buck, and Comac Vitus used the same style. During the Clone Wars, Jedi Barriss Offee even used this style for some time after she took the ones Asajj Ventress used. During the early days of the Empire, a Jedi known as a Kirak Infila wielded a curved hilt saber, but Darth Vader stole this after he struck Kirak down. This was the same style of hilt that he used when he fought the Grand Inquisitor and attacked Jocasta Nu on Coruscant. The Darksaber was created by the first Mandalorian to ever be inducted into the Jedi Order, Tar Vizsla, and it would later become a symbol for the entire race of Mandalorians. It was created in 1050 BBY, and after Vizsla died, the Jedi Temple kept it for some time until members of Vizsla's house stole it back and passed it down through generations. The blade of the Darksaber was quite a bit shorter than a traditional lightsaber, and the shape of the blade resembled a metal sword instead of the cylindrical shape of a lightsaber beam. The pommel was angular with a handguard and slit-shaped emitter. Every bit of the hilt was created from Beskar, and it used a crystal to channel force energy. In order to use the blade correctly, the user had to attune their thoughts and actions with the blade in order for it to reach its full potential. Depending on how open you were to connecting with the blade would decide whether or not the blade would work with you or be extremely heavy and difficult to use. The functionality of the blade was similar to a lightsaber with the ability to parry another lightsaber blade, but it couldn't damage Beskar or penetrate a personal combat shield. The Darksaber has been used by many people throughout House Vizsla, but some of the most notable people who have wielded it are Moff Gideon, Darth Maul, Din Djarin, and Sabine Wren. The Darksaber was damaged later after the Empire was destroyed when Bo-Katan fought against Moff Gideon. Gideon donned new armor that gave him a huge advantage over Bo-Katan, and he managed to crush the hilt of the Darksaber while breaking her hand during the fight. Each lightsaber hilt was specifically designed to work in certain circumstances in the right, trained hands, but each of them is fantastically awesome in their own way. Which lightsaber hilt would you prefer to master or learn more about? While most of them follow similar construction rules, specific training was always a must whenever dealing with a new form of hilt or technique.